Hello and welcome to another DQB Portal tutorial video. Today we're going to be looking at the validation certificate for non-overmetering. This form can be launched from the top menu, the non-overmetering drop-down, from the validation certificate link. The purpose of this form is to demonstrate that the meter has been validated by a DQP. The submission of this form will generate a PDF certificate which will be sent to the customer as well as to the DQP and can be used as evidence of validation. Reasons for a validation certificate to be completed include when a new meter has been installed, as well as a revalidation of a meter every 5 years, and also when there's been maintenance on a meter. This includes when telemetry has been installed on a meter as the last stage of the telemetry installation process. To launch this form, we go through the customer consent process, so you must have customer consent for the work approval number. For more details on that process, please view the customer consent video. For today's demonstration, we're going to be going through a validation certificate that I have previously commenced. So I'll launch that from my Forms in Progress menu here. The first page of the meter validation certificate is asking if the validation is for a new replacement or a revalidation of an existing meter. It's important that you select the correct option here, as this will drive the questions that you're shown through the rest of the form, as well as the meter number that's assigned to your certificate. Selecting the wrong option may lead you to accidentally filling out the form incorrectly. Selection of new should be for a new patent-approved flow meter being installed for the first time on a green field site or a new established pump site as a result of the non-overmetering policy. So this should be a new meter that is unknown to Ward New South Wales. Selection of replacement should be for the validation of a new patent-approved flow meter, which is replacing either an old patent-approved flow meter or an old non-patent-approved flow meter as a result of the non-overmetering policy. So this should be a meter which is already known to Ward New South Wales and is being replaced by a brand new meter. Selecting revalidation should be for an existing patent-approved flow meter or non-patent-approved flow meter that already exists on the site infrastructure. So an example of this would be where maintenance or repairs have occurred. This includes when there's been telemetry installed on the site. The next page here reviews the work approval holder details. The details on this page have been populated from the Ward New South Wales systems. This provides us with an opportunity to review the work approval holder details that are stored with Ward New South Wales and update if required. So we have the name associated to the work approval, which you selected at the start of the form. We may have the corporation name and ACN. We have the postal address and the phone or alternate phone number. And we have the customer's current email address field. This is a very important field to get correct, as this is where the final certificate will be sent. We can also add a mobile number here and collect a alternate contact person or agent with the name, phone, and email address here. The next page is the details of approved works. This page captures information on the property, the meter, and other associated information related to the site. The first two fields here, property name and lot and DP, are populated from the Ward New South Wales systems. We can also update here as required if what is stored previously was incorrect. The work approval number is returned from the search that we completed at the start of the form. And we can also enter any related water access license numbers here. The next part of the form is important. We're selecting the extraction site as well as the meter. There may be multiple extraction sites to select from, as are underneath the work approval number. If you're unsure which extraction site or meter to be selecting here, then you'll need to go back to your landholder who will have this information. If the landholder is unsure, they will need to contact Water New South Wales. If there's an extraction site that you're expecting to appear under this list, but is not appearing, then it may be that that extraction site is not active in the Water New South Wales systems, and the landholder will need to contact Water New South Wales to resolve this. For this example, we'll select our ECID, and we'll now select the meter as listed underneath the ECID. So there may be multiple select from here, so it's important to make sure that we select the correct meter as well. Again, if there is a meter that you're expecting to see in this list that's not appearing, you'll need to coordinate with the landholder, who may need to contact Water New South Wales to resolve the issue. So we'll select the meter number there. The next field is the customer's site name. So this is the name that the customer uses themselves to identify the site that the meter is installed at. So as an example here, I've put in Bend Creek Pump. So this is not something that will be stored with Water New South Wales, but is what is used by the customer. We also capture the customer's pump number here. So this is the number that the customer would use to refer to on the field. So usually if they have multiple pumps, they would say pump number 1 or pump number 2. So this is what we're capturing here. The name of the water source and the water sharing plan. This is populated from the work approval number, so you shouldn't need to change this. The type of water source as well is populated and can be changed if required. The final section of this page is selecting if this validation certificate is related to a submitted meter telemetry registration form. This is to capture if this form is being used as part of the telemetry installation process. So if this is correct, then we should enter yes in this field, which will show the next field. Here we need to enter the workspace ID as displayed in the DAS. So I've entered an example here. So this needs to match the exact workspace ID that you can see in the DAS for your installation. There are a few checks here, so if you do enter something incorrectly, then you won't be able to continue. The next page here is for capturing all information relating to the existing metering equipment. This page may display a bit differently if you're doing a replacement. There'll be additional fields, or if you're doing a new meter. The first question here, we're asking if this meter was installed before the 1st of April 2019. If we answer yes to this, then we're required to enter the date of installation of this meter. As this is an existing validation, we're selecting the reason that this validation certificate is being submitted. We can enter multiple options here, but for this option, we're saying it's a revalidation of an existing meter. And we're given a box to enter more details for the reason. For this case, I'm just entering 5-year revalidation. You can enter as much detail here as you like. This will assist us in reviewing the certificate. We're also entering here the date of the last validation, if it's known. So here we can see it was validated in 2016, which is why we're doing a 5-year revalidation. The next section is for capturing the meter readings before and after the maintenance that was completed on the site. So as you will have visited the site to complete any maintenance required for the 5-year revalidation, we capture the meter reading at the start and the date that meter reading was captured on, and we capture the meter reading after the maintenance as well. The next section, we are selecting the meter system type. This is if it's a closed conduit meter, an open channel meter, or a portable meter. Selection of something different here will show different questions below. The first drop down here, we can select the meter manufacturer and model. As this is an existing meter, these fields are already populated for us as they were stored in the Water New South Wales systems. If this is for a new meter, then we'll need to select everything new here. As this is a revalidation of a non-patent approved meter, we've selected other and we've entered in the other manufacturer and model here. We've also entered the meter serial number and the meter size in millimeters. We can also select the unit of measure as used by the meter here and the meter reading at the date of this validation. As you can see, this may be the same meter reading after your maintenance. The next field here is used to record the tamper evidence seal numbers. If you visited the site and broken any seals, you may need to remove some previous ones that were on here or enter any new ones. So we can do this by entering the number in the field and either clicking the tab key or the enter key or the plus button here, and then we'll add it to our list. We also capture the pipe material, the pipe size, this is the internal diameter in millimeters, and the pipe connection type. We next capture the pipe length upstream of the meter and downstream of the meter. This is in millimeters and should be less than 100 meters or 100,000 millimeters. We next capture the meter Q1 flow rate, minimum and optimum for Q3. This information should be found on the meter itself, and we want to enter both the value and the units that this is being measured in. We also capture the design flow rate and the software version. All this information will be available as part of your meter. The next section is capturing the meter location. These are coordinates that will be returned from the Water New South Wales systems already, although may be for the extraction site rather than specifically for the meter. So we can review this on the map. We can view this in full screen if we'd like as well. And we can view it in satellite if that assists. As this may not be a precise GPS coordinate, we can adjust by dragging the pin on the field to the correct location. And as you can see by the latitude and longitude fields here, they are changed as we drag the pin around. You can also directly enter the latitude and longitude in the fields above if you've measured these on the site. The next field is the meter description. This may be brought back from the Water New South Wales systems already. However, you're encouraged to enter any additional details that may be required here. The final field in the meter information section is the type of supply. Here we're just selecting if it's pump or gravity. The next section of this page is the LRD Information section. Here we're capturing information on the telemetry which is installed on the meter. It may be that there is no telemetry installed on the meter, as they may not be required to yet. If this is the case, in the data collector type we can select not available. This will hide the remaining fields and allow you to continue. For our meter, we're going to select telemetry, and we then select the device that's installed. In this case, we're selecting Captus Multi. And we're also required to enter the model number and the serial number of the LRD itself. So let's enter some values here. We're selecting the LRD type, whether it's pulse or Modbus. And here we're entering the meter reading when the LRD was installed. This is important for validation certificates that are submitted at the end of the telemetry process. This is used for verification of the installation against the data in the DAS, so it's important this reading is correct to avoid having to revisit the site. The next field is the scaling factor. For this one, as it's Modbus, we're entering 1. For a pulse meter, you may be required to enter a different value. To be sure of which value is correct here, it's important that you refer back to both the meter manufacturer as well as the LRD manufacturer. They will be able to assist you in getting the right value. Finally, we're selecting if the LRD is being used for telemetry. This is for capturing if the LRD is installed but not set up to send data to the DAS, as you may install and the customer may choose to turn it off until they're required to. So for this case, we've linked up telemetry and it's reporting data to the DAS, so we've selected yes. Final section here is for capturing the method used to perform in situ volumetric measurements. So we can provide some details here, as well as a conclusion on the method used while it was selected and any other details. The next page is the compliance page. Here we're verifying if the metering equipment complies with the Australian Standard 4747 for meters for non-urban water supply. Your meter may not comply with this standard. An example of this would be if you are using a non-patent approved meter, then you would not comply with the Australian standard. If this is the case, we should select no here and answer the below questions. So selecting here, if the metering equipment does not comply for the reasons specified below and it can be modified to comply, or if the metering equipment does not comply and it cannot be modified. We can also enter multiple reasons here to show why the meter does not comply, and we can add additional reasons. For this case, we're going to answer yes, which will take us to the next page. The next page is the review page. This page is to show all of the information that has been completed on the form on a one-page view. This gives us an opportunity to review all the information entered and make sure we've entered everything correctly. So it's important we go through this and make sure that all of the questions answered are correct. If we go through here and realize that we've done something incorrectly, we can click the edit button, which will take us back to the relevant page. At the bottom here, we're going to confirm that the information is correct, which will take us to the final page of the form. This page is the certification or the signature. So we are certifying that we're a DQP under the Water Management Regulation. We're certifying that the metering equipment complies with the Australian standard or does not comply based on the selection we entered in the previous screen. We are certifying that the maximum permissible error of the metering equipment either does not exceed plus or minus 5% or does exceed. We are certifying that all information contained in this certificate is accurate, true, and complete. We're certifying that we are aware that we must notify the Minister within 7 days if I know or reasonably suspect that metering equipment I'm installing or carrying out work on has been tampered with. And we are notifying if we're validating our own metering equipment. So enter no here. The next section of fields are the fields that are loaded from our profile. So if there's anything that's incorrect here or needs to be updated, you'll need to go through to the edit profile. If you do need to change something here, make sure you save your draft first. This section essentially forms our signature on the form. Here we're selecting the date of validation. So this is the date that the validation was completed on the site. So if we were in the field and completed our validation in the field on a previous day, we should select that date here. And the next date is the date that this current form is completed, so that will be today's date. The final part of the form is uploading our supporting documentation. For closed conduit meters, we're required to enter photos of the meter marker plate, the meter seals, the meter body and pipe, evidence of functioning display or readout, and a picture of the site which shows the whole installation. We can select which type of photo we're uploading here, and we won't be able to submit the form until all files have been uploaded. So we can simply select the description and the file which we are required to upload, and that will show in our table here. Once we've completed this section of the form is ready to be submitted. At the bottom of the page here, we can view the checklist. So this checklist can be used as a guide to ensure that all items are being considered when installing, validating, or performing meter maintenance. So this can be used at any time of the form to make sure that we've done everything correctly, but it's not required to be completed. Once we've completed all sections of the form, we can now click the Submit button at the bottom. This will submit our form, and we can see data saved successfully. It means this has been completed successfully. If we go back to the home page, we can see that our validation certificate is now showing in our previous submissions bucket. We can open it from here and review the information without changing anything. Once the form has been submitted, an email is sent to the customer as identified within the form, as well as to yourself as a DQP. We can see here the email that was generated from our submission today. This email tells the customer that a validation certificate has been submitted to Water New South Wales on your behalf by a DQP, and the certificate is then attached to this email. It also gives them the details of the DQP who submitted the form and some useful links. If we open up the PDF attached to the email, we can see that this PDF has been populated from all of the information completed in the form. Including our signature at the bottom. This should be stored by the customer and can then be used as evidence of the validation.